See it. We're
Are
live.
we live?
We're live.
It's our favorite thing to do. Are we live?
We're live.
Yeah, we're live. Go for it.
Do you want to announce? You want to say we are live from sunny San Diego, California?
Yeah. We are live from sunny California.
And cool.
Snowy New York City.
And Kelly, cold New York City.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? West with Variety ShYo episode. What is it, Kelly?
45.
Kelly is the fearless Agent 137 in New York and holder of the episode count. We are at 45. Hold her to it. 45, the number has no special significance, I don't think, except for that on the 45th episode, we have my mother.
Ah, hello.
Or Yo Mama.
Yo Mama.
That's my new name.
As we have affectionately come to call her. So let's see. Well, you know, if you're tuned in more than once this year or in the past 44 episodes, we usually talk about some events and things. And, you know, you may notice the new layout that we've got going on. But today is going to be the adventure episode. Yes, that's right. It's going to be the adventure episode.
Lots.
And this will be the first guest that I do not know through music, I think.
That's right.
Kelly, can you think of another guest we've had that I did not know through music?
Michael Williams.
Dead silence on the show. And I'm not sure if everyone was thinking like stories about Michael Williams or if they were trying to remember who Michael Williams is. Or they're just thinking that Michael Williams is somewhere absconded in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Yeah, I think so.
All of the above.
Hey, does it count? Will music count if I tell you all about all the raves I went to and
That's
all
for
the
sure.
meeting you for all of your shows and
That's for
around
sure.
around the states? Yeah.
So that said, I can't say that my mother doesn't know a lot of the music. We're going to talk about, we have a set of adventures we're going to talk about today. So anybody who's all excited about what adventures we're going to talk about, we've made a lot of trips and it was tough for us. We whittled it down because we wanted to talk about maybe the last 10 to 15 years. This is what I promised a couple variety shows ago.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about, like, these are not in particularly chronological order, but we've been to India together for a few weeks. We've been to a smaller trip, to a birthday trip. I took her for her birthday to see the Rolling Stones in Detroit. That was cool some time ago. And I think No Doubt opened for them, yeah?
Yes, I think
Gwen
it was.
Stefani, the blonde count.
Yeah,
Yes, you
that's
remember
right.
her.
Yeah, no doubt, right.
Yeah, there's nothing like going to a Rolling Stones concert and your mother knows the main band better than you, and you know the opening band better than her. That's kind of how that went. What else do we have on the list? We did a train trip from Sacramento, California to Chicago.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Bunking up in the old train car with Mom.
Very small.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any pictures of that. Those might have been too close for comfort.
I think we have a couple of training pictures, but they're
for the sports fans, or let's say, you know, traditional sports fans, baseball, for example.
Yeah.
We've got some stories about baseball. Some of it we've done together, and then I'm going to give a surprise highlight for another major accomplishment milestone in your life with baseball. We won't let the cat out of the bag on that yet.
Okay.
We've been to see your favorite LeBron James.
Yes.
Miami Heat. And I think, in fact, that's where she met you, Kelly, probably in Miami.
Yeah, I think it was that trip. Yeah.
A few years ago, as well as the infamous Skandar Rasas, one half of Omega Squad, perhaps now Omega Man.
Omega Man.
We don't know. And then probably the longest trip we made was we traveled from Chicago. It sounds like we like this route. We drove from Chicago to Santa Monica, which, for anyone who doesn't put that together quickly, that is the original and old Route 66.
And we did the original. Across
America. And we're going to talk little details about that. So that's kind of the primer. So run for cover if you're not prepared for the old school photo album trip through some vacations. And don't worry, we're not going to get out the slide projector with the click button.
Yeah.
That's right. But back to our normal program real quick. Kelly, any events coming up? I think earlier today we talked. You have one or two or something coming up, yeah?
I don't have any events coming up for me, I do have Breakfast of Champions mix came out on the Ripecast.
That's a celebration.
Ripecast.
How do they find it? What's the easiest way for people to go listen to that now?
Space Cowboys on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and the internet. I think iTunes also. So look up Space Cowboys Agent 137. Find it. It's in the Google.
Yeah, I think use the Googles and you got it. You know where it's at. Let's see. On my side, I've got well, there's a Juice Night Out EP that's 4 tracks that's out now and circulating around during this wonderful month of March. What else do I have? Can you think of what else I have, Kelly? There's a couple mixes that are out. You know, they're more on the house music side of things, representative of things I experienced last year and this year in Southern California. So those are out. Juice Radio with a yo.
Radio. You have San Francisco coming up.
There. San Francisco is coming up, and that is myself, DJ ShYo. ShYo is my I guess my seems to be my San Francisco management team. Every time I go there, she's involved, which is awesome. Let's see who else is on that party. It's myself, ShYo, Eric Rigsby. See, he gets his name mentioned no matter what happens on here.
No matter what happens, Eric's on there.
Hot Mess. I think I pronounced that right.
Hot.
Right. Yep. And Nurse Noise. What do you think of those names?
They're wild.
Well, we could get you some wild names.
Everybody has Wes Smith as a name.
That is for sure. Yeah, you see Wes Smith at the top, and it's like, oh, I almost fell asleep. Oh, Nurse Noise. Hot Mess. Well, those are opposites. All right. So, was there anything else I said I was going to do in the intro that I didn't do?
Don't remember anything.
You have an EP coming out.
Oh, yes, I do.
You have an EP coming out. Yeah, Mom's got a 4-track EP coming out on Juice Recordings. Look for it in April. It's going to be our special release. Yep, that's right. Just go on in there. And, you know, just so you know real quick before we get into the trips and all that kind of important part of this whole episode is part of the reason she's also here and leaving this Friday is because I moved. I might have mentioned that on a couple of shows. Okay. And then I moved not far, just closer to the beach. And then when I did that, I had like 3 months left on my lease on my old place. And so my mother enjoys San Diego in California. So she came out and basically, is it squatting? What would we call it?
You can call it that. Yeah, sure. Why
not? For once, what I would like to note is that for once in my entire life, she has finally been able to freeload on me.
You're not kidding.
I'm sure that some folks listening to this now or in the future can resonate with that.
I'm sure I have many friends who do.
If not, play it for your parents, and they may enjoy that highlight of the show.
Yeah, it's been great. Walking everywhere, the beach.
Yeah. Well, before some of the older events, what you know, in the 2 months, you know, we'll go backwards maybe. Yeah, in the 2 months, what's been like your favorite restaurants in San Diego?
Oh my gosh, too many of them. I think there's so many.
All of them probably, huh? You guys,
I think we had a very foodie experience here. You know, we ate a lot out and cooked some, but mostly ate out, and the restaurants are fabulous. We have a favorite pizza restaurant. I can't remember the name.
I don't even know if I can pronounce it. Ambrosio?
Something like Ambrosio.
Agent 137, we might need your assistance. There's a pizza place on there's a pizza place on Turquoise Street called like Ambrosio. I don't know if I can pronounce it.
It's the best I've had ever, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's on Turquoise. For anyone not from here, if you ever come here, Turquoise is not super long. It's over in Pacific Beach. It's kind of the divider between Pacific Beach and Bird Rock. And so it's on that street, and it's the only pizza place on that street. So you would see
like Ambrosio 15.
That's the one.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's on Turquoise, right?
No, we've been.
What about Iron Pig?
Oh, look, well, that's a daily. Because I don't have a car, so I walk everywhere, which is fabulous, you know. And every day when I walk back to the house, the apartment, I pass the Iron Pig. They have gotten to know me quite well.
The pub to me
Yeah, they have great food there. Good southern food too. Collard greens and all that good stuff. Beets.
What's the thing that you got them to cook for you that's not even on the menu? What's the special?
Well, they have a
beets.
They have a beet salad.
Oh.
But I asked them just to give me the beets. So they give me, they just cook the beets. You know, they just.
That's what we do too. We do that here too. Give us
the beets. That's what we do on the show, isn't it, Agent 137?
Yeah. Beets.
Give us the beets.
Lime pie. All that good stuff.
We talk about the beets.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So one of the things we promised to do, aside from talk about travels, is sprinkle some photos in and out of here. So I'm going to show the photo to my mom, and then she's going to explain it while I put it up there.
Well, I've always been a really big dancer, and when he was in DC, he started taking Lindy dancing lessons. And so when I visited him, we went out dancing. That's us doing the Lindy hop.
Yep. This is
fabulous.
Little known fact about Westminster Adventures. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that was a fun one. Okay, coming up, let's go.
He's a great dancer.
So for anybody listening in the future, I am going to post these pictures on the website with the episode of the podcast. So you'll be able to check it all out at Variety ShYo with a yo, like everything else, .com. VarietyShYo.com. Let's go a little bit. These are all adventures. These are excerpts from adventures. How about this one?
That was on this trip.
More recent.
Was he took him to a cyber day at UCLA, and I listened for 8 hours about
2 days, 16 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours each day, and then listened to blockchain and Bitcoin and all of the tech things. It was fascinating, actually. I did see, I believe it was the drummer from Guns N' Roses was there. He was on the panel. I had so much fun, and I did learn a lot, but. It was long, but that was a fun trip.
What was that guy's name?
I don't know if you can see the poster up here. It's a good poster on it.
You remember what that guy's name was?
Matt something. Matt, I should know it.
Sora.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I do have that picture.
And I got to talk to him. He was really nice.
Check it out.
Check it out. Me and Matt.
That's Mom and Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses.
That's it.
Cool.
Yeah, he was cool.
All right. So
we had a great time there. We met a lot of people,
Yeah, so those pictures were probably 15 years apart?
Oh yeah.
The two that we just showed?
Yeah.
Could you guess that, Kelly?
Probably more than that. But
she couldn't
at
guess
least
that.
15, right.
Yeah, a while.
Yeah.
All right, so in between, there's some photos that here's one more. We got to show this one just because if you do nothing else after hearing this and you just want to go get a photo that's just funny,
oh my gosh.
Kelly, get ready for this one.
We were passing through Oklahoma.
we
wanted to find a water hole, a true water hole we could go swimming in. So we did find one in Oklahoma, but we needed swimsuits. So we went to a local, some kind of exchange or something, and the only suits they had were red. So we dressed in red bathing suits and went swimming in the swimming hole.
And the swimming hole was super vintage.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't have, and so there was actually a picture where we saw this, and there were two people posed like they were selling vacations to this watering hole.
Right.
And so we posed like them. So if you're listening, my mom is kind of like perched on a rock, and I'm like the stodgy dude standing next to her.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's pretty funny. So let's see here. Closer on the adventures. We're gonna first we're gonna take an opportunity for our unofficial sponsors. I promised young Colin today that we would have our Mama Chia section of the sponsorship. Kelly, what did you say you make with chia seeds?
Chia seed pudding.
Oh, that sounds good.
I think we'll just do a whole endorsement here. Let me pop over to my refrigerator.
We'll do the chia seed retrospective.
Oh.
I love it. Now, Kelly, I have a question for you about that. This is the first question my mom asked me today when she saw this sitting on the table. Does it make you frequently go to the bathroom?
It doesn't make. Oh God, I can't believe we're saying this right now.
Yeah, either.
It doesn't make it frequently. It makes it a better experience.
Oh wow!
Oh, okay. Very nice way to put that.
would you say as we make a segment to the next? Would you say it's a more fluid experience?
Oh gosh.
All right.
Oh my
It's not
gosh.
just a better experience. It's
Moving on.
Yeah.
All right, drum roll.
Oh.
Okay, so we took this trip. What year was that? We went to do the whales.
Oh gosh, that was one of our first trips, major trips together.
Yeah. What year would you say that was? 90s?
Yeah, probably
Early 2000s.
Probably very early 2000. It may have been 2000 actually.
Yeah. So.
I called him and invited him on this trip.
Yeah. Describe how that came about.
I don't know. I was just looking for something that, a trip that was, I like animals, so I was looking for a trip that would be interesting. And I found a trip off the California coast all the way up, and through the pastures to Alaska, studying gray whales. And the scientist ran it on a little 48-foot boat that everything sort of, anyway, it was interesting, the boat. So there were 3 others on it, plus the captain, and me and Wesley and I were the guests. So you can take it from there. But so I called him and invited him to go with me. So
I love that this is her take on the story.
What's your take?
Well, I'm going to show my take on the story. This is the beauty of pictures, folks. Just hold on. Kelly, do you have any questions about this particular trip and how it started or happened?
Yeah, this is our first major trip together.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm very interested to hear about it though, because I'm very interested in whales.
Okay,
Here's
how this went down. Here's how this went down. I think I'm living in DC at the time, maybe New York, I don't know. But anyway, she gets into adventure mode. And I think it's around about the time you were either retired or going to halftime work or something like that. So anyway, she says, yeah, this whale thing, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I'm up for adventure. And I had done a lot of other travel on my own prior to that. But, like she said, first big trip we did, like just mother-son kind of thing. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Sounds good. Just fill me in on the details. I'm busy, so I'll just do whatever. So I get a plane ticket, and I'm supposed to fly to Vancouver. Right. So I do that, and I meet her in Vancouver. Yeah, I forgot about that. There we are. It's the first time I'd ever been to Vancouver. I think maybe first time I had been out of the country at that point. Yeah. So, having to do passport, things like that. And then I get there, and then she's like, and I'm thinking, so the whole time I'm thinking, I had done, it's like kind of pre-fast internet anyway. So I'm like, maybe ask a couple people, you ever gone whale watching, whatever, because that's what she described it to me as. Little did I know that what we were actually doing, so we're there in Vancouver, and in this particular area has a lot of like, propaganda or advertisement for whale watching and watching other sea animals. Yeah. And it's these nice boats and people having like maybe a glass of wine and a drink, and there's a railing. And you kind of see out there, and there's you got your binoculars to see the whale. And I'm like, oh, whatever. It's kind of Disney World, but I'm like, all right, it's cool. It's a trip. It's a family trip. And then she goes, oh no, we're not going here. We have another flight. And I was thinking to myself, another flight to where? And then she's
Bella.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, we're gonna get on a plane and go to Alaska. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we do that. I think it was 3 flights, right?
It was.
Yeah. So we took one flight within Alaska. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. We get there, and I'm like, oh, so we're nowhere near the water. How are we going to see whales? And she's like, oh, we have one more flight.
Yeah.
And we get on a plane with 4 people, 4 other people, 6 total.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we fly to a little place, and what she called a 48-foot boat. And there's people in this picture, so you can do your own math. But
I'm on a 35-foot boat, so let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that's like it looks like a 35-foot boat.
That's smaller than Kelly's houseboat.
Is that smaller than my boat?
My recollection was 28 was what my recollection.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. It was very, very tiny.
So we get there.
6 people.
Yeah, we get there. We meet the captain, and then Mom proceeds to explain that the captain is a PhD student at the university in Alaska, and he's got a helper who turns out to be a native Alaskan who's part of a sort of take children to work program, right. And then 2 college kids that are like undergrads that are trying to take photos of whales. And we get on this boat, and I didn't know if I was coming back.
I know. Well, we did have some problems.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, as an example of why I didn't know I was coming back, I am not bullshitting. This next photo, there's no zoom here, folks. There's no zoom on that photo.
Oh my gosh, what year?
That is in the middle of the what ocean? Pacific.
Well, it's out here. Yeah, it's going up the coast of California on the inside passage.
Yeah, that's right next to the boat.
There's nobody out there but us.
That was the closest one.
Zero.
What year was this?
What was it?
About 15 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
There's another one. I think maybe I took that one. I don't know. Color one. So anyone listening, go check out the website if you want to see a whale tail, a legit whale tail from about 20 feet
away.
And
they were right next to the boat.
Yeah. What else did we have?
Well, we did have to work on that. We did have to. You have to
do a job
on that. Yeah.
We worked hard.
He was the cook.
You can tell by the amount of hair I have.
He was a great amount.
Oh, look at you have hair!
You can tell if anyone wants to see Wes Smith with hair or without a shaved head, whatever, and flipping an omelet behind his back. There you go.
Yeah, he was a cook, and I washed the dishes, and we had to take turns washing for whales all night long. So it was really quite different.
All right, so this story, the way we're gonna
well worth it.
The way we're gonna exit this story, literally, and Mom's gonna tell this is what happened where we almost didn't come back.
Was that when the boat wouldn't go anywhere?
Well, why wouldn't the boat go anywhere?
Well, you talking about those big seaweed and stuff? I'm not. There were quite a few things that happened, so I'm not.
The propeller fell off.
Oh yeah, the propeller fell off. Well, they're giant seaweed. We have a picture of that too, but they're giant seaweed, and so it gets all tangled up, and the scientist, gets down in freezing water and tries to fix it. It doesn't work, and so it fell off, and so here we are in the middle of nowhere. I mean, hasn't been anybody for a whole week that we've seen. We're out there, and so he called in that we were desperate for help. So
that's called an SOS,
yes,
folks.
It's called an SOS, and they sent this huge yacht that was in the closest thing to us. So they came in from the outside, and anyway, they took us in to get it fixed. Fortunately,
yeah.
But that was a 2-week trip. It was pretty exciting. I mean, we weren't sure what was going to happen.
This scientist / captain / PhD researcher, he's not prepared for this. He gets down to his underwear, jumps in the freezing water. Yeah. He goes down, he pops back up, and he says, well, the propeller's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he's like, I'm going to have to dive down to the bottom. So we're not sure if he's going to make it.
Well, yeah, because he couldn't.
So he did find it. He gets in, he comes back up, and then this big yacht, like she said, came and towed us in.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. So, that was an awesome trip.
But I was about halfway through this 2-week trip, though. I thought he probably wants to go back to New York City.
I think at that point I might have wanted to go back, right away.
Right away. But it really was a fantastic trip. We learned a lot about whales, and we actually had to do work looking for them. It was great.
We did. We took lots of pictures of whales.
A lot of pictures. We had lots of tags.
They didn't tag them, right? They took pictures, and then they put the pictures in a book. Yeah, and they kind of identified them just by eye, right?
He knew how to identify them by their marks and things like that.
Yeah, they weren't tagging though, right? No tagging.
No tagging. Right.
So the goal of that project, this is when I learned the term, I think, ecotourism.
Yes.
In fact, I think the term ecotourism came out after that.
Probably.
I don't even think it was called that.
We invented that.
I don't know about.
Oh, that's true.
Sure, why not? We invented ecotourism. Folks, little known fact, we invented ecotourism.
Right, there you go.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. So Kelly, what's your interest in whales?
Well, I live on the water, so I've just gotten really interested in a lot of marine life in general, but New York City, the whales have returned to the area. So yeah, there's a lot of whales here, and there's been a couple dead ones, so following that and what's happening, and I'm trying to get into something about whales. I want to whale watch and maybe possibly help them out a little bit however I can.
That's good.
Yeah, that's cool. That's that. I think that's kind of the gist of what was supposed to be happening with this.
Yeah, because he had been doing this for years, so that was the thing, right? All
right. Well, as we adventure on, I'll hold on till I turn this one around. We'll jump into this one. What trip is this?
Oh, India. India, wonderful India.
Ah, yes.
Love it. What a trip.
So if you would like to see Wes Smith and his mom after having walked into a silk store in India, where they quickly put all the things that you should buy onto you,
right?
Check it out.
Yep.
The India trip, yeah, that was cool. At the time, my girlfriend at the time was this gal named Jill. Very nice gal.
Yeah,
if you need to buy real estate in New York, let me know. I got an agent for you in New York. But yeah, right. Shameless plug. But I had some ties, some connections there in India, and well, like most things happen, we decided was going to go, and I said, well, I was going to go for like 3 weeks, I think. So, my girlfriend, I said, hey, you want to go? And she didn't really want to go the travel part by herself to get there. Takes 2 days, something like that, roughly. So I enlisted Mom, and that turned into that actually turned into a great trip where it was Mom, Jill, and myself, and I didn't win too many of the decisions on that trip. Yeah, she doesn't even. It's too women. Mom doesn't even really need to tell the story to know. Yeah, there's no fighting, right?
Is that why you ended up shrouded in silk?
Part, yeah, and decisions about accommodations and food and where we would go and things like that all kind of happened like that. If you've never been to India, I don't know, this is about 10 years ago. I don't know if this is still a common occurrence.
Yeah.
Probably out in the country, it probably still is,
Yeah, we took a bus out there.
Right, we had to wait. Oh yeah.
And we had to wait.
It's worth noting that rail that's kind of in the way of the picture that's the ladder on the back of the bus or the front of the bus on the right, because people get on the roof of the bus as well and luggage up there. And we had to wait on that cow because they're sacred over there. So had to wait on that fella to cross the road.
Yeah.
And you can't honk at them or anything. They just wait.
Yeah. Sit there and wait.
It's just chill. There's no nobody gets out and shoos them. You just chill. You'll notice there's no one else in that picture. They just wait.
Just wait.
Fortunately, there's no grass in the middle of the road.
You bring your lunch with you so you eat on the bus.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Oh, they're taking sugar cane and making juice, which is very, very popular there in the parks, all the parks. This was a family park, and these two young men you can see the sugar cane, and they're making juice, which is, like I said, very popular there. Pretty good.
That is a legit sugar cane juicing machine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and they were busy.
Yeah.
We're very busy.
And I think so one of the funny things to me is that while they're sitting there shoving the sugar cane through this thing, there's a gas-powered engine that's running the belt that's turning it, and it's down below, so all the fumes are coming up while you're waiting on your juice to be made. Let's see. We got, here's a good one, and this has a lot behind it.
Let's let the audience guess what that is. Woo!
Looks like a toilet. Oh, is that a Squatty Potty?
That's a Squatty Potty.
That's just one kind.
But where was this Squatty Potty? That's most important.
Wasn't that on the train?
It was.
Yes.
And so you would imagine there's a square room with a Squatty Potty in it, and then there's a door to a hallway, right? Like on a normal train.
Yeah, there was, right.
But the door was missing. There was no door.
Yeah.
And so whatever.
It was not a square room.
And there's no lid on the Squatty Potty, so fragrances coming into the hall. What else was in the hallway? This was really awesome. What else was in the hallway?
I don't remember what reference you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure it was the bag of rice.
Oh yeah, we had the bag of rice.
There was a big bag of rice.
Yes, we did.
Because
I forgot about that.
Somebody didn't have a seat, so they sat in the aisle, which is connected to the bathroom, which has the Squatty Potty in it, which I'm going to tell you, there's no elevation change between the floor in the bathroom and the floor in the hall, and then there's just this bag of rice sitting there.
Yeah.
So if you have had a whole bunch of chia seeds. What do you do? What's a Squatty Potty for people that don't know?
Squatty Potty is.
Well, I can tell you my story about first time.
Stand, right? Like you actually have to stand, right? Or like.
You have to stand. Yeah.
Yeah. So you put.
There's nothing to hold on.
Have you ever used one, Kelly?
Well, no, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's an experience.
The more you know. That's Kelly's favorite quote. The more you know. All right, folks. So there's the picture again. And what you do is there's two little pedestals that you see there. You go in. If you're used to using a toilet, like a proper Western toilet, your first inclination is going to be to walk in, pull your pants to your ankles, and then that's where it all goes wrong. And you realize, wait a second, if I have my pants at my ankles, I can't possibly put my feet on those foot holders and not soil my clothes.
Right.
So now after you realize how dumb you are because you've already got in that position and this is not going to work, you then, and mind you, there's no door on this thing. So you're basically sitting there looking out into the hallway of the train with your pants to your ankles and no door. And then you realize, oh, okay, I'm going to have to take my clothes off. And so that's what you do.
Yeah, and this is a pretty fancy one here. Some don't have the foot,
Yeah, and that's my foot that you see there next to it. Now, I will take this one step further. On a different trip that I went to India, I went to a shopping mall. And I thought that the shopping mall, I just thought that there would be a regular toilet. I went in and thinking about it. They had stalls and stuff. Everything looked like, what I was used to back here in the U.S. And I went in and it was this Squatty Potty kind of toilet. I'm like, I got this because I've done this before. So, I just, like a pro, just disrobe, hang my stuff on the sidewall. And I realized the difference this time is number 2, not 1. No problem, because it doesn't really matter once you're squatting. You're all good. You do that. However, the difference at this point is now you're like, wait a minute, where's the toilet paper?
Where is it? You got to bring it with you.
No, the toilet paper is actually in the form of a small plastic bucket that's sitting next to a spigot on the wall in the stall that you're in, and you fill that with water. And it takes 1 or 2 times because now here's what you realize. And I know, all right, here's the second profound thing that happens with the Squatty Potty is you realize that when you just have number 1, no problem. I can leave my shoes on. But when you do number 2, you realize, okay, the only way I'm going to use this water to clean myself is to pour it down my back. And then when you realize if I do that and I don't take my shoes off, it's gonna get all over my shoes.
Oh my God!
So now you're stuck with, wait a minute, I'm not clean. I've got shoes on. They need to come off, and I don't want to do this.
I know I don't want to do it. I would just hold it.
Yeah, and then,
everything gets pretty wet in the bathrooms.
Yeah, and so I'm going to you can fast forward to any friend that has to go somewhere where there's a Squatty Potty, and I'm going to tell you the process is this. Just take all your clothes off, do the squat, do your thing, get your water. Don't even act like you're going to try to be like not messy about this. Just literally pour it straight down your back. Oh, God. With the right hand, and then with the left hand, or you can switch if you choose. With the left hand, do all your cleansing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm never gonna
and then just stand up like a champ.
Yeah.
Put your clothes back on. Go outside. Wash your hands.
Not many choices there.
So, what else did we do in India though? Beautiful place.
Oh,
that's the Squatty Potty story.
Oh yeah. We went out in the countryside and saw a lot of pottery makers and people just ordinary people working and doing what they do, farming, whatever. Oh yeah, that's anytime you went into any kind of a temple, you had to take your shoes off.
Yeah.
And this photo shows where everybody leaves their shoes. You don't check in your shoes or anything. There's nobody watching them for you. You just put your shoes there, and nobody ever takes them. I mean, we did that many times.
We did.
And you just put your shoes there and go at it. Yeah.
Let's see.
We do the same thing with cameras, except with the camera, they would just put a little tag on it, but they were out where people could have access to them, but no problem.
This is really common and interesting to see.
Yeah. Lots and lots of traffic there, lots of motorcycles, bicycles, and this was a family of the father, mother, and 2 kids on one motorcycle. Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that.
They load them back. I have another picture, but I might show that one. It's probably the son, a grown son, and his looks like his grandmother on it. So they're, but that's very common there. But it's amazing how much they can get on that one bike.
And this is really
bicycle or motorbike.
This is really cool. This is not a particular tourist attraction or anything. It just happened to be somewhere we were driving. But you will see these. You'll see these.
That's a typical.
Very, very colorful.
Buildings
with gods and gestures to the gods, and these are prayer areas where you could see down below in that photo. Yeah. People can go and do their daily prayer, maybe a couple times a day, kind of thing, and then various other events or reasons that they do that. This is pretty cool. This lady making the
it's beautiful.
The flowers.
Yeah. Why don't you tell about Jill having had that put in her hair?
Yeah, I mean that's a picture of a lady who's kind of making up these necklaces or strings of flowers.
Necklaces and strings of flowers to use however you would like to do it. Jill had one put in her hair. It was gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was fascinated by that because it's very common there. So you don't well, let's take New York, for example, Kelly. Like if you go to the markets and these things, I can't ever remember seeing someone, especially what are these jasmine? Really, really.
They were very fragrant.
Fragrant.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what they are, but they're very, very fragrant. A couple different kinds of flowers. Yeah. And, it's pretty neat because you see them all over there, and the women, most often the women wear them. Sometimes you'll see a man wearing them. Yeah. And quite often the offices or workplaces or places of business smell like this because the women get these fresh flowers every morning and have them in their hair or as a necklace. It's pretty cool. That's pretty neat.
One thing to say about India is that your senses are overworked when you're there. If you don't live there, if you're not a native there, or permanent visitor, but your senses are overworked. The food smells, the flower smells, the bathroom smells, every kind of smell in the world. So you feel after you leave there, you feel like your head is so full of, you can't even think, because your senses have just been on such overload. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, that was
just a nice picture.
That was a beautiful woman. She has a bag of rice, I believe, on her.
Oh, that's the bag of rice, huh?
Gorgeous. Yeah, gorgeous.
I mean, that's a big bag.
That was out in the country, I think. Yeah, it was out in the country. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Let's see. There's one or two more unique pictures in here, I think. Just kind of some interesting stuff. I showed the cow crossing the road. We went and visited we were way out somewhere and went and visited I'm looking pretty enthused here, but we went and visited this very small town where they were doing really small school.
Oh yeah, it was a school there.
I don't remember how that came about.
It was actually evening and night, late afternoon and night. And they were having some kind of celebration. Maybe it was our version of a PTO meeting with food and stuff like that. But the kids just, were great. So they came up and we talked to them.
And this is a fairly common site where people would be taking a bath near a.
Well, the men taking a bath
near a temple, and I don't totally know the religious significance of that.
They're basically some kind of cleansing. I'm sorry we don't know that, but it's a cleansing. But men do it. I never saw a woman do it. I don't think women do it. It's just men.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about that. All right. So, and here's some more. That's the more common. This is the typical street scene.
Yeah, that looks.
Those particular cows. We ask about those. Those particular cows know where they live. And so they're going home because the scarcity of grassland, they lease a plot of grass, or for their cows to go to every day. So their cows go there, and then they'll come home by themselves after they're through eating for the day.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Cool stuff. Yeah. So
it was a fascinating trip. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. 2 more to go that we had to talk about that we planned. So the next one, pretty cool. So we're gonna talk about baseball.
Oh my gosh, baseball.
So just go ahead and tell your baseball story first, and then we'll kind of talk about the trip.
Well, when I was
how that fits into
yeah, you have to interrupt. You want me to stop. I could talk about this all day. When I was about 12, my father, took me as a family, and we went to New York City. Drove from Mississippi to New York City to see the Yankees. That was one of his things. Want to see the Yankees. So we did see the Yankees, and I was 12. So time passed. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Looking at me.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of time passed, and I eventually had kids, and a couple of ball games I went to, a couple of different stadiums, Atlanta, another one, Florida. But and then eventually, when I got near retirement, I decided, well, actually, Wesley invited me to come to California as another birthday gift to go to all 5 California stadiums. And at that time, I was, yay! I should have wanted to get there. I was just having a good time going and learning about the cities that the baseball stadiums were in. This is Major League Baseball. Yep. And, I'd stay about a week in each city, have a really great time, and walk around and so forth, and you get to know the people and do the baseball thing. So he invited me out to California, and we started in San Diego, and went all the way up to Oakland and San Francisco, saw all 5 teams. Fortunately, we could schedule those. And we camped in the Big Sur.
What were the teams?
Well, San Diego, and you had the Dodgers, you had Anaheim, and then San Francisco Giants, and then Oakland.
Yeah.
So, it was a fabulous trip. It was a good gift for me because I got 5 stadiums. But Wesley happened to ask me how many stadiums had I been to, because I would like go to one a year, And we counted them up, and I had like 18.
Yeah.
So he said, well, why don't you just go to all of them? I thought, why not? So I did. I started doing that. And then last year, I would stay a week to 2 weeks everywhere.
That's you singing the hot dog song.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
the 7th inning stretch.
I got into it, yeah. I always went before to see them warm up. I never left at the 9th inning, never. I didn't care who was winning or losing, never left. So I really got into the baseball thing. I was really into it. You got another one here? Oh, the Giants.
It's just us
at the
Giants. It's just us at the Giants Stadium goofing around.
What a fun stadium that was.
We took those pictures with all the logos of the teams.
Oh, yeah. I love San Francisco. I fell in love with one of their baseball players on that.
And I don't wear baseball hats really anymore. And so we would buy identical hats everywhere so we could take the picture like the one I just showed you. And it didn't always have the right size for me. So they were always brand new hats. It was great. Yeah.
So we did all those stadiums. It was fantastic. And so from then on, I just started doing, I continued my one a year, trying to get to the 30 stadiums in the United States, 1 in Toronto. And so
Dodgers,
yeah. You can show those on top, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the things I had found out about Wesley is that he loves cotton candy. And I think every trip we have been on, he manages to find cotton candy. And he's always either got his hand in the bag, even while he's driving, and his mouth full of cotton candy. It was so funny. He loves it.
Likes sweets.
Yeah, he likes sweets. But anyway, especially that. But
he has a sweet tooth.
Yeah. So I continued. And then last year, the last 2 years, I decided I would kind of up the ante a little bit. So I went to three stadiums at a time. Last year, Wesley met me at the Mets Stadium, and I decided to do the Mets as the 30th stadium because I'd done the Yankees first.
Yep.
And I called the Mets and wrote them a letter about what I'd been doing, and that I started with the Yankees, and I was now going to come to their stadium for the 30th stadium. And they were very nice of me, nice to me. I had been to all these stadiums, and people who like baseball can relate to this. The cameraman goes around and he takes everybody's picture, but he never takes a single woman watching a baseball game. That's not very interesting, probably. But he take kids and people dancing, all this stuff. So I asked the Mets, would they put me on the big board? And they did. When Wesley met me there, they told us to go and sit at our seats and not move. They sent a babysitter for her. She sat there and waited until the cameraman got there.
Yeah, they had like a liaison.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen you more nervous in my entire life.
I couldn't even talk. I mean, if they had asked me a question about baseball, I probably couldn't have answered.
They did. They asked you 3 questions, and you answered them all.
I was in another world. I was so excited.
They would ask you the question, and she would just turn to me for the answer. And I was like, I don't know the answer to these questions. I'm not even a baseball fan.
I was speechless. I really was. But the Mets were so nice to me, and I went to the 30 stadiums. I not only just went to the 30 stadiums, but I saw each city and did a really good study of that. It was fun doing that. But I went to a lot of old stadiums and new stadiums because I've been to like Atlanta old and new, Baltimore old and new, Miami old and new. So quite a few of them. Anyway, so that's my baseball experience.
That's over 20, 30, how many years did it take in total?
When I was 12, I hate to tell my age, but.
Well, so let's just say whatever.
I just
a long time.
Last year. Time. Yeah.
A lifetime.
Yeah.
Basically.
50, yeah, probably 50. Yeah, long time. 70 years, whatever. 70 years. Yeah.
Yeah, to go see all those teams, and you saw, of course, some stadiums that are no longer there.
No longer there.
And then she had to go back and see the current stadium.
Yeah, I had to see the current stadium. So
some teams had moved from where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she had to go see those. So it ended up being, but they have like an official count for, the number you could see that's current, and then, that's kind of
the official count was 30.
And they gave you didn't they give you something?
Oh, they gave me 2 or 3 little gifts, little mementos.
Some tchotchke things for like seeing.
Yeah. The Mets were just super nice, of course, they didn't want the Yankees to outdo them, so no, they didn't really, but they were very nice. I made a study of baseball, not just the game. I love the game, but the food they serve at I gained all kinds of weight on one of those trips because I ate all the food that they were famous for. A lot of barbecue, all these sweets, and all these wonderful food. And then the people.
I saw you eating hot dogs and cotton candy.
Hot dogs and cotton candy and peanuts. Those are my favorite things. But when you get to some of the Midwest, they all have lots of barbecue. That's what they're famous for. So you have to eat all that stuff. I just didn't care. I just had a great time. But I found out there are all kinds of stadiums. Some are more fun than others. The crowds are different. Some crowds are very boring. I'm not going to mention the name of them, but I did mention.
Oh yeah, we're usually politically correct here.
Yeah, some crowds were like dull. They never cheered too much, and when their team was losing, they were just depressed. And you go to the stadium like the Cubs or Toronto's or somewhere, it doesn't matter whether they're losing or not. They're going to cheer the team on, and that's it's fun.
What would you say was the most, let's call it lackluster, to be nice? Like, and it could be because the team's not doing well, any number of things, right? San Diego is usually that way.
Well, the White Sox are pathetic. I mean, the White Sox, at that period of time, when I went several times, but no cheering. And they leave when they don't. I mean, if they're in the 3rd inning and they're not ahead, they leave.
They go home.
Hey, it's gone. Miami had the worst food. I hate to say that. I'm from Florida.
I didn't even like it.
I went to the old one, which was good. But Wesley and I went to the new one. On that trip, we saw you. We saw you last, and we actually had to get rid of the hot dogs. They weren't very good.
Oh no!
The longest game I ever went to was in Toronto, and that's their only team in Canada, only NBL team. And I went at 12:05. I would go to multiple games during the week, So this is my 3rd game there, and I went at 12:05 on Sunday, I believe it was. And at the 9th inning, Detroit and Toronto were Detroit was 5 ahead, Toronto 0, so they were going to win. I went out to get a drink or something, or maybe go to the bathroom, and I heard all this noise, and they tied it. Toronto got 5 runs in the 9th inning. So I stayed for the rest of it. It was 19 innings. I ended up eating lunch and dinner there too.
Oh.
Was this from that? I don't know when this was from.
This was in Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
related.
think that was one of our first trips.
So I had some pictures together of they were kind of mixed in with sports.
I met him in Miami quite a few times.
Well, Kelly,
that's where I met you.
In fact, I realized, Kelly, that
this
picture isn't clear, but that you remember that, right? So that's you and Skandar and Mom and I.
Oh yeah, that was at that
in Miami. The picture's a little blurry, but
that was the place with the good juice, not the sugar,
so
cane,
good.
but yeah, the good juice.
Yeah, and then we've had our share of drinks, but there's that's just more of a nostalgia, nothing really funny. But we're drinking a fishbowl mojito.
Oh yeah.
And you don't get fishbowl mojitos in other places in the country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it also cost $90 probably.
Yeah, it's like a gallon, $90 mojito. Right. You want to see a $90 mojito? Check it out.
You gotta share it. That's why you're sharing one.
Yeah, that's right. And then
he's teaching me about beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's taught me a little bit about beer too.
Yeah.
And then speaking of beer, the only time you will ever see me drinking a Bud Light.
Oh my gosh.
that was in my area too.
That was at a pool party. A Spanish TV pool party with Gio.
Yeah.
And Gio's actually in an inner tube right next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't have the picture of that.
And I was the oldest person there. I wasn't dressed for that party, but I should have put the picture now. Two guys that I talked to quite a bit, and we took some pictures together. But it was fun. Yeah, I just handed them the beer, and they floated on the inner tube.
Now, so far, this is the grand finale segue.
Okay.
So far, we've had some interesting trips that we've talked about. Hopefully, some interesting pictures, some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Now, this next trip, which is the last big one, we got some other little excerpts, whatever, but it's the last big one to talk about is, I'm going to say, well, let's see. So all the others were like a week on a boat.
Yep.
Yeah, a week on a boat in Alaska. We talked about that. It was the Alaska whale trip.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, some camping, about a week long.
Right.
Then a few days in New York, a few days in Miami. India was 2 weeks, but that was but hotels and
hotels
and a lot of let's say travel. Sometimes you travel with Jill, sometimes with me, sometimes together, all of us.
Right.
Different things. Y'all took some road trips, day trips while I was doing other stuff, things like that. So a lot of like variety. Now, a couple of weeks ago when I mentioned we were going to do this show, I mentioned that I wanted to do this partly because Mom was here, but also because I know from analytics in the video game stuff, we talk about this every now and then, like who listens to any of my music or some watches this later, because we talked about, I was explaining to Mom earlier, Kelly, about how, we take the audio and this is the recording for YouTube and then it goes on SoundCloud and whatever. We went over all that stuff. So anyway, a few hundred people might catch wind of it over the next few weeks or something. So we know for sure that there's young music fans in there because of the video game, because that age group was 12 to 15 or whatever. So now they're 15 to 18 or whatever the target was. So anyway, part of the reason I wanted to do this was because if you get the opportunity, and even if you're older now, if you haven't taken the opportunity, because I'll tell you, and I did want to share this because when I was a kid, and with Mom here, she can attest to this. When I was a kid, I absolutely did not like to travel.
He would not even fly.
I wouldn't go anywhere.
We had to pay him to go to a soccer. He loves soccer, but he had to fly to a soccer camp in North Carolina.
They drove me. You drove me.
Did we end up driving you? Yeah. He wouldn't take the bribe. We were going to pay him to go bribe him. He wouldn't do it, so his father drove him. Yeah.
So until the first trip I ever, like, I turned down all kinds of trips, like going to Mexico with my mom, sister, and grandmother, all these things. And I was a kid and I was into other stuff, building go-karts and, playing with my friends and fishing and bow hunting and all kinds of things like that. So, I was doing things, very active, but I just didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to leave my hometown. And that was fine. It was awesome. And it wasn't a bad way to grow up for sure. But on the travel thing, all I'm saying is if you get the opportunity or if you haven't made the opportunity, you can really end up with some sensational adventures with whether it's your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, whatever it is. Try to find someone to do that with that's family, because one thing I can guarantee you absolutely is you will learn things.
Oh yeah.
about each other. Sometimes you won't like each other anymore when you're done. Sometimes you'll start not liking each other and like each other when you're done. Other times you'll hate each other in the middle and hopefully like each other when you're done. And anyway, so I've had it's been about 15 years now since we started kind of really making trips.
Yeah.
Every couple of years, trying to do that
in close proximity.
Yeah, and planning one every few years that we can. You know, and they don't always have to be to India. You know, a lot of times when we get into talking on here, you know, sometimes things cost too much or whatever it is. But fine, that's just my message to anybody that you know, is looking for not financial advice. Kelly, there's no financial advice here.
No financial.
We normally you should not take any advice from this show. But that is one piece of advice.
This piece of advice you can take.
You know, find someone, even if it's a friend, you know, that you least expect. You know, do that crazy road trip or something. You know, if you've already done a lot of that, then do something even longer. And that segues me into this next one, which is, for a very long time, I wanted to own like a vintage trailer, like the kind you pull behind a car, right? And so I finally found one. I don't know, about 10 years ago. I finally found one, and that is. You gotta get a picture of it for you. What's that, Kelly?
My next trip, I'm actually going on. I'm going to Croatia with 6 other people that I've only met 2 or 3 of them before.
Oh,
cool!
Really? Yeah, that's gonna be good.
It'll be interesting.
Cool.
You don't know any of the people. You just know a couple of them.
I know one. Colin. He's actually a unicorn, so he went to Burning Man, but we didn't go the same year. He lives here, and another friend, Rafi, he lives here, and Paige. So I've met 3 of them, but the other ones I haven't met before.
Oh, that's gonna be a good trip.
Yeah. So here's a picture. Well, it's sitting next to a water tower intentionally, but that is my Airstream trailer that I found after like years of wanting to find one and looking for one.
1952. Isn't it?
It's 1952 Airstream Flying Cloud. And so where the story begins is that I found it, and I live in California, and the trailer was in Florida. Huh? So I bought it sight unseen, sent the guy the money. Real nice guy, because these things, if you're not into these trailers, the people that look for them are rabid fans of them. And so people showed up to like his business there where he had it, trying to pay him cash for it, and I had already sent him the money, whatever. And he, you know, he was cool and honored the deal and kept it when people had offered him more money. Anyway, nice guy down there. Forgot his name, but he owned a boat dealership down there. And he had restored it. And he was like an Airstreamer for life. But anyway, so it was there in Florida. I put my truck on a trailer and shipped my truck to Florida. And
to my house.
Yeah. And so they pull up in a flatbed, load your truck with like 12 other cars on it. They drive it across the country. They pull this rig up into her residential neighborhood, drop off my truck, and leave. And so that's how the truck got there. And then I went and got the trailer, and I drove it to Chicago by myself. Mm-hmm. And we had agreed we're going to do this trip from Chicago, you know, the old Route 66. And let's see, I have a picture, you know, for anyone that is just kind of curious about what that might look like. And so this is a map. We had taken a screenshot of all the little locator icons where we stopped. And so you can see in that picture, Chicago, basically, you know, the lake there, and then you can see all the way over to California. Mm-hmm. So all those little flags and pins are places that we had marked to stop, and we stopped. And so we did this for 3 weeks. Now, to the traveling close with somebody part. It's one thing. It's one thing.
Did you tell them the size of this?
Yeah, it's 18 feet. It's called a 21, but that includes the hitch, bumper, and A-frame at the front. So you got 18 feet of living space, and we lived in that for 3 weeks. And we went every day. So every day we basically moved the home from one trailer park to another, doing that route with all those stops. And I will tell you, whoever it is, you will learn a lot about them, and you will probably, hopefully, develop a strong relationship out out of that experience. I've stayed in trailers with people at Burning Man for a week under those conditions, you know, and that's pretty close. But the difference with something like Burning Man is you go and you get all set up and you're there.
Okay.
And weather might suck. Like Kelly and I have been to Burning Man before, and you know, we pitch her tent, and I have my trailer, and we're in the same camp, and everything's cool, right? It goes by, you know, you have problems, but everyone's kind of there together.
Right.
So the difference moving the trailer every day is you're moving it every day.
Yeah.
Right. And it is a team effort. Like, you know, someone, you know, like she had to learn how to crank up the thing, and you know, every time you stop, you plug in the electric and hook up the sewer, and it's different every single time, and things break.
We were in Ace Hardware quite a bit when we could find one.
So some of the things we saw along the way.
Oh gosh, a little alien.
Oh yeah,
forest.
That's right. we saw an alien in the petrified forest.
Who hasn't?
That's right. That's right. See, some really cool things. We let's see. There's a happy dude.
Oh yeah.
That's a legit smile. No marketing. That's me with my sign.
He was so happy about that show. Yeah. A lifetime dream.
You still have it. You still have it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I forgot you've seen it before, Kelly.
Yeah. We've been camping in it several times since. Yeah.
Now let's talk about a few things. Aside from my general advice and or wish for everybody to get to make some trips like this if you haven't, or if you have, to have a lifetime of more of them. There's some pretty neat things along here we just want to talk about specific to Route 66. Now, a lot of people, let's ask Kelly, for example. Agent 137, what do you know about Route 66?
Okay, I know that that's where you get your kicks. I know there's an old one and a new one, and the old one would be something that I would imagine that there's a lot of like motel hotels that you could stay at that like Norman Bates are at, you know, like that kind of hotel motel.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You're right.
And there's probably a big ball of string along the way and a lot of Paul Bunyans, and that's what I think, like big tall statues that you get out of the car and you're like, Wesley, let's take a picture of that. And he's like, okay.
Show her that one. You hit it. Oh no.
It's a Paul Bunyan for sure.
It's a Paul Bunyan.
I totally made that shit up. Oh, stuff up. Sorry.
PG rating out the door. We can't even keep it clean on Yo Mama's. We can't even keep it on Yo Mama's episode.
Oh God.
Let's see. You are right. And since you talked about large things,
it has to be something that you have to take like a
Route 66. Yes. Route 66 is the world of superlatives.
Yep.
It's the smallest, the biggest, the largest, the most expensive, the poorest, whatever.
And there's probably like all these billboards leading like if you like when you go to south of the border when you're going from like Pedro says, but it's like Paul Bunyan says.
That's right.
Yeah, and so one of the
Tell
things
about the whale.
One of the things I found.
The whale.
Yeah, one of the things. Here's the whale again. It's the color of your shirt, Kelly. One of the things I found really interesting about this trip was that, and if you ever get the chance to do it, we did it for 3 weeks. So, in every day, our commitment was every day in a trailer, no hotels.
Yeah, no hotels.
We had one night in a hotel. We'll explain that towards the end of the story. But otherwise, all in the trailer, and that was kind of our goal because we wanted to, as vintage as possible. We wanted to do as much of the original route as possible. In fact, we even took paper maps with us.
Oh yes.
And I will tell you, you don't have. First of all, you don't have wireless, which we didn't think about. You don't have wireless reception the whole way if you do the old road. So it is good to actually get the paper maps. There's a couple really good books out there. They're pretty easy to find because if you go looking for them, like everybody will say, yeah, that's the book. And it's got all the fold-out maps and stuff and all the attractions and things. Yeah. And one of the things I thought was really interesting that I totally did not expect was that so many of those Paul Bunyans and things would be in such restored condition.
Yeah, they were.
Right? So this whale thing, I think the story was this whale, if you looked at that picture a minute ago, you could see it was in a lake.
Yeah.
At the end of the tail, there's like a kid's slide, you know, about 10 feet, drops off into the pond. And we met the original owner was there.
He was there.
And like his daughter or some sibling was there who was kind of taking up the property. They I think maybe in the summer, a few days, weeks, they have it open now as a watering hole for people to go.
Yeah.
But it was really cool sitting there listening to them tell these stories about like from the 50s when the highway first expanded, you know, and that was basically the road across the country. And
Whale of Catoosa.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. And you would have all, where is it? Kelly, do you remember? Where our mind's foggy.
Catoosa, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yes, it was.
Is that where the watering hole was?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and so they would, you know, they would have 100 people.
Yeah, he built it.
All the time during the summer, and he said, "Yeah, now we don't have people."
No people.
But you know, the highway has bypassed it, and I'm all about progress and adventure. But one of the things that inspired me to do this trip for so long was I would as many of us in our generation, Kelly, have done, you know, whether it's work or, you know, whatever it was, you know, DJing or working in insurance or music or whatever. There's a lot of traveling between cities, right? So there's a lot of, you know, LA to New York. There's, you know, that kind of thing. DC, New York, DC, San Francisco. You know, maybe you go to Atlanta, maybe stop in Dallas or Chicago, and you're kind of constantly flying over the country. And we all look down there, and you basically see, you know, pretty much. You're like, oh, I guess those are mountains or whatever, you know, or maybe the pilot says, you know, hey, that's the painted desert or whatever. Right. But I found that I had probably crossed the country 20 times. And not once had I actually been through it, other than maybe watching like a Ken Burns, you know, America series, which is cool. Yeah. But I will tell you this: if any of that stuff kind of is like neat, or your Netflix binge, and you're like, oh, this is a cool series or whatever, I'm telling you, go out there and take the time to do it, because what as usual, what worked for us was that, you know, even though you had seen some of it before, or even grown up in a time where some of that kind of stuff was the thing, right? Not a restored version, but the original. And you get all these little details and characters that are still living there. Very interesting perspective of America. And I'll say
it's like the real thing.
You know, Kelly, like you know from like some of our jokes and shenanigans on this show and just otherwise, you know, we're you know, our age groups and younger and social media with all of that is, you know, constantly a lot of commentary about, you know, I'm moving away from America and, you know, all this stuff, right? And there's reasons for those opinions, and to me, you know, a lot of those reasons are encapsulated in the bubble you see of social media. And if you get out and realize, you know, we've got, you know, however many millions of acres of open land out there, and all these adventures that have been there before any of the internet, any of the anything, and you go out there and check some of them out, you know, it may just change your opinion on how things are. The other takeaway I had was that there are far less people living the online, you know, the social media, the online sphere, far less than the people that are online think. If you're in the group that's online and daily on Facebook and daily on Twitter and daily on these things, you kind of think this is what everyone does. And what you realize is you're actually in the minority. Like a lot of people are not even caring about any of that. And they're out here restoring blue whales or whatever, right? Very interesting.
That's something I've always wanted to do. I wanted to do that and do the Great Loop with sailing though. I mean, not sailing, but on a boat. Yeah, is that the thing you plotted out to show that showed me? Yeah, that would be awesome. Talk about this guy a little bit. I'm in the picture, but
oh yeah, this is a poet we met out in Oklahoma too, wasn't it? Yeah. We went way out in the country to look for something, and we discovered this guy. He writes kind of dirty poetry, but I think he calls it sexy poetry, something like that. But he had grown up in another state nearby, and he loved that place where he grew up. And so when he got older, he just moved the entire city over to where
he moved the whole city.
He moved the jail. He moved the feed store,
Everything.
the post office, the church, all kinds of things. The babysitter, which was actually a jail for kids who misbehaved. I think I have a picture of that somewhere. Anyway, yeah, he just moved the entire city, and nobody ever comes out there because it's not.
It's called the Red Oak Child Care Center.
Red Oak Child Care Center.
50 cents per hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fascinating. We stayed there a better part of a day or half day.
We did.
That was a long time because he enjoyed us talking. You know, he probably didn't have a lot of visitors out there, so. But we had a great time with him.
I believe this was also near his place. That's pretty funny.
That is.
This will explain a few things.
He could put those benches out there.
For all the Democrats and Republicans, go take a look at that photo.
Go sit on your bench.
That's a funny one.
And get along.
Let's see. This was just a bunch of signs.
Yes. Well, I like to read signs. I started doing that in India. Because the signs are fascinating wherever you go. So all along this trip, that was a house that apparently must collect signs. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of those that has the most signs. So they did that. But all along the trip, though, there's one in there. I don't know if you can find it. It's the one that says loose at night.
Oh, I don't see that one.
Anyway, we were in some little town, and there was a house there and a big acreage of land, and in the middle of that, we were parked there looking at something, and there's just a sign there, like a regular road sign. It says "loose at night," but it doesn't tell what's going to be loose.
Yeah, it just said "loose at night."
Loose at night, And the other thing, we had a lot of road signs that were really peculiar. Yield, you would have to yield, and it was coming the wrong way, not like our yield now, that you see, but you yield for the ones that's coming. It was the wrong way. It was crazy. And we would see, bridge not safe. We were on Route 66. We had to go across it. Yeah, these are the cars. Everybody knows about these. You'll know about these. You recognize that. Where they have all the cars.
It's like a Stonehenge. It's like a Stonehenge, but it's like Volkswagen.
And you go out there and you can paint whatever you want to on the cars. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They had another thing. I don't have a picture.
Here's an example of the signs she was talking about. This is someone just collecting signs.
Yeah.
But a lot of road signs, especially on Route 66, and a couple of times, we went way out of our way to go see this rabbit place. And it was in the boot. Oh, that's a grasshopper in somebody's yard.
Just chilling. Just chilling, dude. Big praying mantis.
Oh yes, a praying mantis.
All right, rabbits. You're talking rabbits.
So we went way out of our way to see this store that was it was called the Rabbit Place. Is that the lady or the store?
That's you riding a rabbit.
Oh, that's the rabbit. So we get ready to go, and we think, okay, we're gonna keep going on the road. We went about a block or two, and they just said, "That's the end of the road."
Oh, I've got a picture of that.
There was no more road, so we had to turn back and go all the way back, retrace our steps. Like
that picture.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so this is, for example, if you follow the paper maps, you will frequently end up at a place like this where that is Route 66 and it just ends.
Yeah, we ended up in a pasture one time, and so Wesley's hiding in the trailer, and he says, "Get out and go see what's up there." I said, "What? What do you think I'm going to do? There's a bull out there and cows out there. I'm not going to go out there." But I did. I very, was scared to do that, but I did. So I went, and there was no road, so we had to turn that trailer around.
Oh, speaking of which,
there you go. That's the one where can't go anymore. Road closed.
What?
We might have gone 20 or 30 miles out to this place. We had to go 20, 30 miles back.
I was pretty frustrated on that one.
Yeah, you were.
I was pretty much over it.
You were.
Did you guys get pulled over at all?
What's that?
Did you get pulled over at all?
No. We didn't do that. No getting pulled over. Now, let's see. Like I said, one of the things I said, we stayed in the trailer the whole time. There's some amazing, sites out there. That's pretty cool. I mean, let's see. That's a pretty good one.
Oh yeah.
It's just a big, big canyon-y landscape thing.
Yeah.
It's cool, but you can find all your little places to have your spiritual moments out there if you choose so. Now that was just the beginning. And mind you, I showed you that rig that we're driving. And then as we're coming through, we're getting, Oklahoma,
we're getting
Nebraska, all through all those areas.
Close to California.
Those pictures that I showed were kind of sprinkled out across there. And then we get to a situation where we're like, what was it? We stopped to see something. There was a big dust storm.
Well, we were just driving along, and I noticed that it looked like a dust storm. So we got out to see.
Here it is.
Yeah,
that's the dust storm.
And so this was the dust storm coming up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that looks familiar.
Yeah, that's a legit dust storm brewing right there.
Historically that was significant anyway. So, but so that started this little thing about the weather here. So you can go ahead and talk about that if you want to. But,
yeah, so we're cruising along, and I'm thinking, well, we're still going, towards California, and our goal that day was to cross the border and go through the mountains.
Right.
So we start driving again and kind of look back, and then that's behind us now, which you can't see through.
Well, we had been getting
just a big wall of dust.
Yeah, we had been getting. We started over the mountains, and the roads are very, very narrow, and we started getting warning signs from how they'll warn you. I guess it's NOAA. Somebody's warning you.
Flood zone, like flood zone. And
you're in the
flood
zone. You need to get out. You're in the flood zone. You need to get out. Very dangerous. And we kept hearing that, but we couldn't turn around. There's no place to turn around. You
can't go there.
You got to go forward.
Yeah, so we're basically driving through about 20 miles of that.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
With mind you, with the truck and trailer. It's not in a a VW rental car.
And so I'm hanging out the window, taking pictures and also looking at the road, which is not much left. And Wesley, at one point, he screamed at me. We weren't screamers at each other, but he screamed at me. He says, "Tell me how much I have. What is the measurement over there? How much do I have before we turn over? We just fall over the cliff, I looked out, and oh my gosh, it was like 4 inches. Yeah, that's a lot.
This is a much better example. We stopped to get a picture of what we had been driving through. Yeah, I mean that's with a truck. That's a 42-foot rig.
Yeah.
And I have no experience.
Yeah.
Remember, I just bought the trailer 3 weeks ago.
I didn't even look anymore, because we have 4 inches. Don't make a mistake.
Yeah. So let's see. I think
we did make it through, but
I got a picture of when we made it through in a minute.
That was another experience.
So we got through the mountains. There's a little gold town. That was just kind of fun. The storm hadn't caught us yet. But then we're driving through the Mojave. Now we're in California, and we're trying to make it to this town called Needles. If you look that up, Needles, California. If you take Route 66, it's the first town you'll get to when you come across California, across the mountains there. Mm-hmm. And the storm broke out. And then on the radio, we start hearing that they're closing the highways. Yeah. So literally as we go, they're closing the highways behind us because the storm's coming. Yeah. And we get into this little town, and there's this hotel called, I don't know, was it the Needles Hotel? What was that thing?
But now the wind is blowing the trailer around, and we have no lights.
Oh, it's the Desert Mirage Inn and Suites.
Yes. And we're very thankful to this day for them.
But we pulled in there, and we thought
the first one.
Yeah, we pulled in there.
We knew we had to stop.
Yeah, and we thought we just got to get out of the storm. We didn't know what size storms was coming, whatever. Right. So we pull in, park trailer, go up there, and it was all dark and raining already. So we thought we didn't really bother to look at the place or inspect it. You said you got a room, great, awesome. It's a room. We walk in the room, and the whole thing smelled like Clorox. They had to well, we'll just build this up for you. So the whole thing smelled like Clorox. We went in and we were like, okay, fine, we'll just live with it because it's all we got. Yeah. Because they had closed the trailer park. We were going to stay out in the state park. Right. And that's it. We didn't want to sleep in the trailer in the parking lot because we didn't know what was coming.
$7 room they charged us.
It was like $7 or $8 for the room. Yeah. And we go over
Now you have to realize this is what they call a false tsunami there. And the water is already up to our knees.
It's still there. It's a 1.5 star. It has 1.5 stars on Yelp.
Well, let me just read the sign out front of the Needles Hotel.
Known for absolutely nothing.
It says Needles, California, hotspot, known for absolutely nothing. 20 miles from water, 2 feet from hell.
I couldn't read that part. Gotcha.
And that's where you pull up for the night. So connected to the hotel, or what we thought was a hotel, connected to that is like, you know, a diner.
And we were really hungry.
Yeah, and a diner and maybe a bar. It was about 8 o'clock or something. And then so we go over there and we walk in.
You need water.
It's like you open the door and you hear the bell. And I'm a big fan of the Twilight Zone show. And I'm just thinking to myself, we're there. We've arrived. We sit down and they're like, you here to eat kind of thing? And we're like, yeah. Are you open? No. So we'll cook you something. What do you want? And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what do you got? And they're like, French fries. And you're basically like, I guess we'll have French fries. She's like, okay.
And this little lady,
smoking indoors.
98.
Smoking indoors. You want ketchup with that? And so
she did manage to make us a grilled cheese, though.
So we got a grilled cheese and fries, split it. And then we're like, you got any drinks or a beer, bar open? She's like, that way. So we walk around the corner.
And you can't go outside right now because it's the storm.
We walk around the corner, it's connected. And I'm not kidding you. Neither one of us have any pictures because we were so entrenched in observing this. There was karaoke going on.
This is like you were in an old West cowboy bar, you know.
And so that sign pretty much tells you what was going on for karaoke. But then in the morning when we got up, we realized that we were staying at basically a by the hour kind of brothel type hotel. Right. And that's why it smelled like bleach, because they had run in to bleach everything before we stayed there. They hadn't had any guests. Like, and then there's people on the balcony and out in the thing, and it was like basically like a daily.
Everybody's looking at us as we're leaving.
It's like a weekly rental hotel.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it says now it's a $35 rate, and the review on it is that it smells like it's heavily sprayed with a deodorizer. that was 4/9 of 2017.
Oh my word.
Not a lot has changed.
Thanks for that information.
So we're not doing them any injustice. We're just qualifying. Hey, they're consistent.
Yeah, they are.
They're consistent.
Well, you know what? They rescued us, though.
They
really
did.
They rescued us and they put us in a room.
They did.
Yeah.
So we come across needles, and we're hunting for. There's two last things. One is we're hunting for that.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were hunting for
the bottle man.
There's a bottle farm.
Oh, yep.
And thousands of bottles. This guy, Kelly, I might have gone by there with you when we went to Burning Man.
I feel like we have talked about this before.
Yeah, yes. Maybe it wasn't open, but I think we tried to find it.
Well, sort of out of the way. Also, it was in the country. I know we had to hike down. We just parked and hiked down a dirt road for about a mile or so before we ever found it.
Yeah.
But again, very nice person. He told us a lot about the history again, you know.
Yeah, you find a lot of things like that.
And they're very happy to be telling you their stories, which are fascinating.
Yeah, you have to hunt for some stuff. Talk about this. Just describe this. It's the Rabbit Museum.
We get into town. I've forgotten which town it was, but anyway.
Now that's just a bunny rabbit in a picture.
Yeah,
I understand.
So we found this lady's house. It's in a residential area, nice community, you know, and she has these metal rabbits all in her yard and all this other stuff. We didn't know what it was really, but it was a collection of rabbits. So that rabbit was the live rabbit. So you register when you go in. We were probably about the 10,000th people that year, you know. So. And then she has that one rabbit that's alive, but in her entire house is rabbits.
Thousands.
And she started that when she and her husband got married. He gave her a rabbit of some sort every anniversary, every birthday, every Christmas, every anything. And she had been collecting. So after he died, she just kept on collecting. So she had live rabbit, stuffed rabbits that had been her pets.
All her pets had been stuffed.
Yes.
Oh,
you couldn't even tell her refrigerator. It had so many magnets on it. The entire house had rabbits in it. There's not one rabbit in the world that she doesn't have, I think, a copy of. So then outside, if you go in her backyard, she had this huge rabbit. Is that it?
That's fun.
So that's Wesley on one of the huge rabbits.
That other picture I showed was Mom on the rabbit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then she provided chalk so you could draw rabbits on her sidewalk. It was rabbits. I've never seen
rabbits. You get a rabbit. You get a rabbit. Everyone gets a rabbit.
Everyone gets a rabbit.
We bought a shirt from her. We have a yellow shirt with a big rabbit on it.
This is a sign that you'll see out there. I'm not going to say anything about what it is, but if you ever do this trip, you will see that sign, and I'm just going to tell you, follow it.
Yeah.
That's the mystery you will not get answered today.
Here.
When you see for anyone listening, when you see the "Here it is" sign with the jackrabbit, and you will see more than one, just follow it.
Just follow it.
We a couple other quick ones, just some funny things out there. There's a picture of me in a monster truck.
Oh, I love it.
We found, what was that place called? It was like
it was the auto museum.
It was like the hot rod.
The collectible audio museum. Museum, and they had the hot rods.
It was the American hot rod museum.
Yeah.
And we didn't plan on finding this one. I mean, it had all kinds of things. Like this guy, apparently, and I don't remember the guy's name now, but this guy, he had basically been a hot rod designer in the 50s and 60s. And you can see from that one car I showed Kelly, kind of that contoured style. He was designing them and racing them, and then he was the original designer for the car that became the Batmobile. For the show. For that TV show, the TV series with all the wings and stuff on it. So that was really cool. And so he's got this whole museum full of all this stuff, and he's got the car. He's got the actual car, and then like the photo of the comic book that is the comic rendition of the car, and the influence and all that. And really neat guy. And that we didn't expect to find. And I'm sure there's hundreds of things like that out there.
And anybody who's into racing, I have a friend who knew all about this museum. It's in the Boondocks. Yeah. He knew all about this museum and this collector and this guy who restores these things. It was beautiful.
The guy basically just found this piece of property because it was cheap, and he wanted to build a museum for all the cars he'd done over his lifetime. And so he moved to a different place and bought this huge piece of property, built this massive garage, and has all the cars there. It's really cool. Let's see, Bottle Museum, we got that. This is pretty much me at the end of the road. That's close to what you'll feel like.
We're on a long stretch of highway. The wall from this house, I guess, was just standing there, and they left a chair there.
That was in California. I think that's in California. That's close to the end. Right. We don't have a picture, or didn't put one in here, from Santa Monica Pier.
No, we didn't. We forgot. I had one downtown though.
I think we were too tired.
Yeah, we were pretty beat by the time we got to the end.
We were through with each other.
Yeah, we did take a picture of us in Santa Monica.
The last thing
we did take it downtown to that sign, which was another. It's controversial. They had a couple of things where they said it was the end. But we went to the end in town, and then we went to the end at Santa Monica.
Yep. Okay, the last.
We did the whole thing.
The last. Yeah, but you're right, Kelly. Big chairs. You see all these crazy things.
Superlative. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. You had a picture of that refrigerator with all the magnets on it.
Oh,
I think it's gone, or it's not in here. I can't find it. Anyway, so I think we made it through. We made it through the 5 big trips.
We did.
That was the goal. You didn't sleep yet, Kelly?
No, not at all. You guys are great. Did you guys? Were you doing a lot of research? Did you put all the pictures together?
You mean for today?
You've planned. This is the most planning you've done for a variety show
ever. Well, it's all her planning.
Well,
the planning for the variety show is strictly related to the guests.
Yeah. He's like, are you ready? Let's go. Boom.
As you've seen, we have Michael Williams with his corporate presentation about tequila. That was very thorough. Yeah. And I think this trumps that in terms of preparation. Yeah.
Yes,
I agree.
All right.
Well, what really started was, I think, or maybe you planned to do it before I even knew about it. He recently had a birthday, and so I wanted to get him. I actually thought about this 2 years ago and didn't do it for him. So I did it here, and I made a poster of all the trips we had made together. You're in the poster, actually, I think.
It's right here.
Yeah, here it is, the poster. So I made a poster for him so he could put on one of the spare walls and for the trip. But he mentioned something. When you make these trips with your parents or your sister or your friend, like you're going to make your first trip, you learn a lot about them. Like he said, something you don't like, something you do. But I found out one thing to this day that he still does is not just related to that 66 trip. We found out that they made absolutely delicious, the most delicious pies there. They were always homemade, all on Route 66. So everywhere we went, we would buy pies and we would eat them, of course. So, but you
Pie.
he would always take the last piece. He would always take the last piece. Like we might, go to sleep and there's a couple pieces of pie left. Next morning they would be gone, and I'd say, "Where's the pie?" "Oh, I ate it." He still does that.
Yep.
No qualms about taking the last piece.
He ate my nerds too. I understand.
You can't leave anything around.
We were in Miami, and we split a hotel room, and I had called it an early night, and I think you and Skandar and a couple of people went out. Yeah, that's about what it was, I think.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe that.
I came back, and we were all at least day drinking, at least. I was. I called it a night. They came back and then went back out, and then I kind of got up like you do if you've been day drinking. You wake up at like 1, and then like on the bedstand there was like a box of nerds.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, "Huh, those are nice," and I ate them. And
Everywhere.
In the morning, you were asking. It was like I was busted. Like, did you eat my nerds? I'm like, And then she like looks at the covers and she's like, "Then why are they all over your bed?"
They were everywhere.
And I get up and move the pillow. It's like nerds all over the floor, and I'm like,
"Oh my goodness!"
It's like the cat with the bird feathers in his mouth.
I really don't even think they were mine. I think that was the thing of nerds that I gave you, and you just ended up eating them. But yeah, I can relate to the pie story.
Could be.
Was that rhubarb pie that you just showed us?
That looked like rhubarb pie.
Yeah, it was rhubarb.
Yep, that's a strawberry rhubarb.
Yeah.
That's my favorite pie.
Good eye, Kelly.
Yeah.
Huh?
Good eye, Kelly Ross.
That's my favorite.
Nice.
It's one of my favorites too. I love it.
All right.
But they did have good food there.
Awesome.
You were going to tell them the one hotel we stayed in.
Did you?
No. Other than Needles, we were forced to stay in Needles.
That's what I was thinking of.
Oh no, we stayed in the Indian Wigwam. Which everybody knows.
Right.
Everybody knows about the Indian Wigwam Hotel on Route 66.
You
have to make reservations.
Can you do a quick look up on that, Kelly? The Indian Wigwam Hotel.
Yep. There's a picture of it in there.
To see what city it's in.
Yes, it is Holbrook, Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we had to make
there it is.
Yeah, there, show that to us. I'm at the door.
That's it.
So that's the one hotel we wanted to stay in. So we, like I said, we had to make
villages.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, so many pictures, so many things. Well, maybe in a year we'll do episode 2.
Maybe so.
Dig up some more.
Yeah.
Well, I will mention, here's what, this actually turned out to be plenty. Some adventures that she has gone on that had nothing to do with me. And, maybe a year from now or some other day we'll do these. Maybe on a Mother's Day.
Oh, okay.
She has a whole lot more about her baseball stuff, and baseball enthusiasts may find that more interesting than I do. But, because you have a lot of details about those things in that sense.
Yeah.
Antarctic, you've been to the Antarctic.
Antarctic.
You've been to the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah.
You've been solo bike trip through Italy.
I did.
You've been a couple other places like that, biking.
Yeah.
You've gone to see polar bears in the natural habitat.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
and,
very exciting.
Things like that. And, so those, maybe we'll get into those sometime.
Yeah.
And probably for a very long time, you've been wanting to go to Africa. You've been there.
Yeah.
And that may be one that I'll be fortunate enough to have the opportunity to join you on. And we've thought about probably doing, rather than like the Safari Zoo trip kind of thing, which is probably magnificent in itself.
Yeah, sure.
There's an interesting thing we're contemplating. If we do it, maybe we'll come back on and talk about it a little bit, where all the African animals migrate.
They migrate. The migration. Yeah.
Big migration period.
We do that a couple of times a year.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So that could be kind of cool. But travel, my friends. If you can do it, do it. If you can't, sell something and do it.
Yep. There you go.
I remember seeing, I don't remember who it was, but there was some lady, I think it was probably an ad, I'm sure, for some outdoors company or whatever, or it was intertwined with one outdoors magazine article or something. And I remember reading about the lady, and she was like, they were asking people what they would do, with their money. And they were all older people, like 60s, 70s, and they were like, spend every penny on travel. Yeah. Which, if you're going to spend your money on something, that's not a bad place to put it.
Spend money on experiences.
Hey, speaking of which, experiences, right. And Kelly, speaking of which, until we have the Burning Man episode, one day we're going to have a roundtable Burning Man episode. That'll be fun.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We've always talked about it interwoven because it kind of has been in and out part of Kelly and mine's, various adventures over the last few years, but separate and together in some cases, and mutual people. But Kelly, do you have any interesting travel-related books? That's kind of where maybe we'll leave this episode if you don't have anything else.
Yeah.
Any books that you've thought of that have inspired you to travel or get the spirit of adventure?
I think mine is more probably, I don't know what may have the spirit of adventure.
Or even documentaries.
My whole family. Documentaries I watch. I do read a lot of books about animals, you watch TV.
That's true. That's gotten you into that.
So, I don't know. I just love the idea of travel and what you can find out about people and animals too, and landscapes. So,
Any for you, Kelly?
I just have an inquisitive mind, I guess.
Books, documentaries, adventure related?
I can't think of any in particular.
Inspiring?
Yeah, actually, when I was in school, I was an English major, and or I am or was or whatever. So there were a couple books that we read that were a big deal, and it took a semester to read a whole book. So I took a couple trips over to Europe, and sometimes I would just go and kind of seek out I don't know, like the Globe Theater or something like that, or where some of the museums were that had that. So I've traveled a lot. I haven't done as much lately because I go to Miami and Burning Man, and that's the reason why this year I was like, maybe I do this too much. I should go somewhere else. And that's why Croatia has come aboard. So
awesome. Well, the couple that I will leave folks with, and I think if you can read, whether you're 15 or 12 or 50 or 500, some interesting ones for me that certainly stick out in my mind with the spirit of adventure and travel is one of them is slightly mixed with business and just not just travel but adventure in many things, and sort of interesting ways to live is this book called Let My People Go Surfing. It's a pretty cool book. It's written by the guy who was the original founder of Black Diamond Climbing Equipment, as well as the original founder of the Patagonia clothing. And so his partner and he, a business partner in other things, one of the things they did eventually was purchased a huge chunk of land in South America, Patagonia area, to preserve it, and basically donated that. They're not developing it or anything, so it's totally, you can go down there, but it's totally like ecotourism. But their goal was to preserve it because apparently the Chilean government, there's some issues with their perspective on preserving it versus allowing people to use it for stuff. So they didn't want that to be at risk. So that's one of the things they did. His co-partner in that project was part of the husband-wife couple that started the Esprit clothing store and sold that.
Really?
So once they sold Patagonia and Esprit, they took money and kind of,
I remember.
I'm pretty sure that's the gist of that part of it. But anyway, the book is Let My People Go Surfing. The author is Yvon Chouinard.
I'll have to read it.
And he's also a legendary climber as well. And I'm not a climber, but I have friends that are really advanced rock climbers, mountain climbers. And so that kind of turned me on to finding that. Another cool one I thought was adventure book was 360 Degrees South, I think is the name of it.
That.
It's also a documentary was done off the book or vice versa.
I saw the documentary.
Really cool about a guy that basically doesn't have much experience other than traditional white collar business experience, in adventures, and then he hops on a boat of some kind and again goes down to that area in Patagonia, and he ends up meeting Yvon Chouinard in the documentary, somewhat knowing and somewhat not knowing that Yeah, so they're totally separate situations that end up coming together in a weird way. That's kind of cool. Those are two. And then what else? There's one more. I think it's called maybe a documentary, two more that I have that are adventure and not necessarily having to go like leave your country or whatever. One of them is called Surfwise. And there's a picture. I'll pull it off the wall so I can show this. So Surfwise is this documentary about this, many people would say crazy, I'll say eccentric, surf family. And the family name is the Paskowitz. And I went to a surf camp and they taught me to surf. And that's how I learned to surf, but years ago. But through that, I learned about the family because they ran this surf camp. So this is a picture of me and Doc Paskowitz. So if you read that book or watch that film, you'll see Doc Paskowitz, and that's him. And that is an amazing adventure without going far and with no money. So that's one for the budget folks.
Yeah.
So if you're into that like camp van thing or the van life, right? You see this stuff now. You can go to like vanlife.org, and there's all these people making this movement. I'm sure it's awesome, and it's awesome like traveling the trailer. But if you want to go old school with that mindset, check this out. This dude takes it to the extreme. Raises a family that way, all of it.
Oh, you sent me that. I think I did.
Yeah, raises 9 kids.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yes, I read that.
So that's really cool. And then, and maybe one day I'll talk about some of my solo adventures. But this next and last book that or documentary book, it's both, is called Ride the Divide. And so it's a story about basically, you could call it a race, but there's like 6 people that do it because it's so crazy. And they basically ride the entire Great Divide mountain range line from north to south. Yeah. And it takes a while. Yeah. And so it's a story about 4 or 5 people that do it one year. And one of the guy's wife has a baby while he's on the ride, and he has to go through this whole consideration of whether or not to go back for the birth or not. I'll leave the book to you. You can go read it.
Good recommendation.
But it's mountain biking and biking. And so those are like 4 different, one's kind of business-ish and philanthropy-ish, and one's mountain biking and outdoors and hiking and activity, and one's kind of the crazy van life and yogi spiritual vibe. Yeah. Anyway, throwing out a couple things to share that have inspired me and you and Kelly.
Yeah.
And go spend your money on travel.
Yeah.
That's the way we end today's show. Go spend your money on travel.
Yeah, you guys should.
Stay classy, yo.
Stay classy, yo.
Anything else, Kelly? Bye-bye, folks.
Bye, Kelly.
See you soon.
Good talking to you.
Thank you.